Shabbat Shalom, Hallelujah, praise Yah. Here we are again. We've arrived at the Sabbath day, another appointed time of the Most High, and we're trying to understand time. We're trying to count time. Here we are, we're on the counting the Omer, the number 21, counting the Omer 21, so we just have to get to 49. So if we count in sevens, then we'd have 28, 35, 42, 49. That would give us 4 more weeks, 4 more sevens, 4 more Shabuas, sevens, until we'll get to Shavuot, plus 1 day. The morrow after will bring us to the Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Sevens. So we're learning how critical time is. We're learning what a big deal it is to understand the Father's time clock. His time clock. This is what we're working on. Shabbat Shalom, Daniel. So we're going over the gospel in the stars. We're on part 2. I did part 1 last week. I talked about the seed of Abraham. That's what I ended on. And so Yah showed me I need to talk about, I was a little surprised about this, but Yahweh revealed to me that I'll be talking about the dragon, the seed of the serpent today, because that's the other flip side of the story. We have the blessed seed, the holy seed, the seed of the woman, and then we have the seed of the serpent, the seed of the dragon. And those are the 2 seeds that we need to understand when trying to wrap our minds around the gospel story. That's where it all begins. If we don't understand the seed, then we're basically not going to understand it. So, Shalom Lindsay, Shalom Matt, Shalom Wendy Russell. I'm so pleased to be on time today. I'm pleased as well. Shalom, Wendy. So, let me just open with Isaiah 46:10. Or let's say verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am El, and there is none else. I am Elohim, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure, calling a ravenous bird from the far east, the man that executes my counsel from a far country. Yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it, I will also do it. So, he's spoken it, he will also do it. This is what's so phenomenal about the gospel in the stars, is it was written aforetime. It was written from the very beginning. That's why it's so critical for us to look at this and to understand this. It literally declares the end from the beginning. We went over that last week, how Paul said, was there any excuse for the people of Israel who were the seed of Abraham after the flesh, that they didn't understand the gospel? They missed the Messiah. No, they didn't have any excuse, because he quotes Psalm 19 and says, the stars told them, the stars let them know. because their sound has gone to the ends of the earth, and their speech, they've uttered speech to every nation under heaven. So we all get to see what the stars are speaking, and that's we're gonna go over this again today, and I'm gonna kind of highlight again just Abraham, the seed of Abraham, just so we remember where we were at. But we're gonna talk about the story in the heavens. Shabbat Shalom, Windfeather and Jeremy. Great to have everyone with us. So the seed, the holy seed, began with Abraham. Abraham's seed being multiplied as the number of stars. Justine, Shabbat Shalom. And we went to a controversial passage in Galatians 3:16, which is one of the most heated, debated passages, but it says, "Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He says not, and to seeds as of many, but as one, and to your seed, which is Mashiach." So a holy seed would come, that would be of the woman. And that seed, why did the Genesis 3:15 prophecy say the seed of the woman? Well, it couldn't be the seed of Adam, because remember, it's the Holy Spirit impregnates Mary. So it would be the seed of the woman. It couldn't be the seed of Adam. It was literally going to be the seed of the Father. The only begotten of the Father would impregnate the Virgin Mary. And that brings us to the beginning of the storybook, is really what we know as Virgo, the Virgin, Bethula. I believe that's where the storybook of the heavens begins, with Virgo, the seed of the woman. That takes us back to Genesis 3. The woman's seed will crush the serpent's head. The serpent will bruise the heel. So, and we see this pictured in the storybook of the heavens, but what is Paul talking about here? Well, interestingly, could Paul possibly be referencing the book of Jubilees? There's a very intriguing prophecy in Jubilees which has to do with Abraham's seed. Jubilees 16:17, and that all the seed of his sons should be the other nations and be reckoned with other nations, but from the seeds of Yitzhak, Isaac, one should become a holy seed. One should become a holy seed. Could Paul possibly be referring to this in Jubilees? Shalom, Anthony. That he says one shall become a holy seed. This is quite a phenomenal prophecy from Jubilees. And Jubilees was written, it predates the New Testament. It predates Messiah. So, and that all the seed of his sons should be the other nations and be reckoned with other nations, but from the sons of Yitzhak one should become a holy seed and should not be reckoned among the other nations, for he should become the portion of Elyon, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of Elohim, that it should be unto Yahweh a people for his possession above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priests and a holy nation. So this gets a kingdom and priests, a holy nation, the seed of Abraham. This was what was prophesied. This was what was meant to take place. And we see this in Jubilees 16. Now, remember, I brought up the book of Yashar. Shalom, Andrea and Amanda. Yashar mentions a very interesting sign that we read last Sabbath, that one star swallows up 4 stars. And that's what I put this. I actually took a picture of my computer in Stellarium here, because this actually happens. Now, I don't know if this is exactly accurate, but if you reverse the time clock, you can actually see a very rare conjunction that takes place in 1953 BC. Reversing the time clock all the way back, you can see where one star swallows up 4 stars. And it's, of course, it's the wandering stars, aka the planets. Venus comes down in Aquarius, mind you, because now we're starting to study the Mazzaroth. We're starting to understand the Mazzaroth. This is in the constellation sign Aquarius. Remember, Genesis 1, he's given us the sun, moon, and stars for oat signs. This is the sign of Aquarius. And Venus comes down, it swallows up first Jupiter, and then it progresses. And this is a conjunction of 4 planets, 4 stars all together. This happens approximately 1 time in 100,000 years. I don't know if this is Abraham's birthday, but this is fascinating, because if this truly took place February 27th in 1953 BC, Venus swallows up Mercury, Mars, and Saturn. Venus. And then Jupiter's here. So it actually, 1 star swallowed up 4. For these 5 stars all came into conjunction. This only takes place about 1 time in 100,000 years. This is huge. And it takes place in Aquarius. And Aquarius is known as the water bearer. The water bearer, pouring out the water into the mouth of the fish. So he pours the water into the mouth of the fish, and this highlights, this Mazzaroth sign highlights pouring out of blessing on the fish, on the seed, that we just read about, the holy seed, the kingdom of priests, a holy nation. That's what this Pisces Australis represents here. So that's what takes place 1953 BC. This is a sign in heaven. So that kind of whets our appetites for reading the signs in the heavens. But Aquarius. And with that, because that actually is very close to the timing of Abraham's, when his birth would have been, 1953 BC. It's amazing, it's astounding how close that date is. So it's amazing that we can go through a program such as Stellarium or various other softwares and just cycle through the clock. The same way, in a simple manner, you can do it here. You see this cycle, this circle, this circuit. So I recommend, everyone get one of these. It's kind of hard at first to understand the Mazzaroth, to understand this little this little diagram. But along with this sign, let's go ahead and read again the seed of the woman and the seed of Abraham, just to remind ourselves. Back in Genesis 26, verse 4, it says, "And I will make at your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and did guard my watch, my commandments, my statutes, and my Torah," or my law. That's Genesis 26. So what else could this sign be saying other than the multiplying of your seed? 4 stars becoming 1, actually 5 stars conjuncting together in the blessing, the sign of blessing being poured out on the nation of kingdom, the kingdom of a nation of a holy priesthood. Pisces Australis. So, wow. What's another one? Another fascinating scripture actually comes from the prophecy of Balaam, when the king of Moab says, "Come and curse Israel for me, Balaam." And Balaam can't curse them. He has to speak only what Yahweh Elohim tells him to speak. Rather than cursing them, he blesses them. But this is very interesting what Balaam prophesies about Israel. He says in Numbers 24:6, "As the valleys are they spread forth, as gardens by the river's side, as the trees of line aloes which Yahweh has planted, and as cedar trees beside the waters, he shall pour the water out of his buckets." Pour the water out of his buckets. "And his seed shall be in many waters." His seed shall be in many waters. We see the fish representing the seed that will be in many waters, and the pouring out of blessing and the multiplying of the seed, the holy seed. This takes place in the sign of Aquarius. Wow, buckets, yes. And the thing is, you can see many of these prophecies come to pass. When you start to view the storybook of the heavens, you start seeing this come to pass. Let's see, what else? I missed something here. Let's go back to Genesis 22. Oh, Genesis 22 on the seed of Abraham. I know I read this last Shabbat, but it says, "I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies." Now that's the next thing that I want to look to in the heavens. What is this, his seed possessing the gate? Well, I believe there is a gate in heaven, and I'm going to change the background here. Share, did you get the star map thing? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I'm going to change my background here to what I believe the gate is. And I think I had this background last Sabbath. There it is. Do we see that? the gate. This is what every night the stars circle in their circuit, and they go around this center point, which I believe this to be the gate to heaven, the north, because it says, we know that he sits above the circuit of the earth. Its inhabitants are as grasshoppers. The heavens are as a tent. So everything goes in a circuit around. It does appear to be a gate. It looks to be a gate in the heavens. Do we see that? The little disc. I have it here. That's what it does. It just goes in a circuit. Just circles around, and we see this story. And I'm going to talk about this story, but it says that Abraham's seed will possess the gate. Now, this is another thing. I don't know if it's true. I got this at Hobby Lobby for about $5 or $6, I believe. I just happened to see it. It's just in the children's toy section. And this will tell you it's got all 12 months around the edges. See that? It's got each month. It has the hours. So it's a clock. It's progressing through the story. And as I've mentioned, we begin at Virgo, and we'll go around clockwise. We'll talk about that in a minute, but at the moment, we're at the gate. Abraham's seed will possess the gate. And it is a bit warm in here. I just want to warn everyone, I could overheat, because it's warming up. It's pretty cloudy out, but it is warming up. My phone may overheat. I'm gonna have to come up with some way to prevent this from happening, but just putting that warning out there. The gate. Now, I don't know if this is true, but we know that Polaris is in the dead center, and Polaris and the Little Dipper circles around this gate one time per year. The 4 seasons, it'll point 4 different directions, with Polaris remaining directly in the middle. But if you go back to the beginning of time in around 3900 BC, Polaris is actually shifted over. Polaris is not in the center, but it's actually Draco's tail, so that it's rotating around Draco's tail. Draco possesses the gate at the time of creation, because the stars shift through time. That's what people talk about, the different ages. And now some people are talking about us going into the age of Aquarius, the water bearer. Well, Draco's tail possessed the gate, but later Polaris possessed the gate, the North Star. And the Little Dipper is representative of actually a sheep. Now, we see Ursa Minor and Ursa Major today as being a small bear and a large bear, but originally the Dippers were not bears, rather they were sheep. So, I'm gonna get some air condition on. I don't want this phone to overheat on me while I'm in this. But that's what happens. Draco the dragon, Draco the dragon, the constellation, circles around Polaris, and the flock, or the sheepfold, circles around Polaris as well. But now we have Polaris, and the sheepfold has possessed this gate here, this gate into the throne which is above, the throne above and the sides of the north. So we're going to be talking about the Dragon and Draco, and let me actually bring up a picture. And really, I really am just humbled. I would have never thought myself to be worthy or to be able to talk about this kind of stuff. I never would have thought myself smart enough to talk about this kind of stuff. So here's another picture, and here you see Draco and the Little Dipper and Polaris. And what happens, there's the pole star. These circle right around the gate. Well, in the 3000s, Draco, his tail was on the center point. But thousands of years later, it shifted, and the sheepfold possessed the gate. So now, the sheepfold has the gate. Just as the prophecy, the seed of Abraham will possess the gate. Do we see that? Hopefully everyone can see that picture. So basically what you have is Draco the dragon here, and Polaris, the Little Dipper. This is what we get, if you can see that. And it cycles around. It cycles all the way around, and you see Draco here. From our perspective, Draco just goes around and around that gate, that throne. What's he trying to do? He's trying to block the gate. We remember what is the dragon? What is the serpent seed? That's what we need to understand. Well, Yahusha, Jesus, the Messiah, he says unto the religious system of his day, you block the gate of heaven. You neither enter in yourselves, and you prevent those who would enter from. And he says, you are of your father, the devil. So he identifies the religious system of his day as being the serpent seed. Wow. The religious system. Now, does that sound familiar to something we can relate to today? That there's a religious system in place that is the beast system, the dragon, the serpent. Well, that's what it was in Messiah's time. Those who were blocking the gate was the religious Pharisees, the religious system of Messiah's day. They would block the gate. So that's what the serpent tries to do. So we're going to study over the serpent today, the serpent seed, the dragon, which, who knew that on the holy Shabbat, that Yah would clearly tell me, you talked about the holy seed, Abraham's seed, now you need to talk about the other side of the story, the serpent seed. So we see the dragon pictured in the stars, the serpent, the reptile. The reptile is pictured in several constellations. We have serpents, we have Draco. This is Draco. Draco there circles around Polaris, around that center gate where Messiah sits literally on his throne. We have Serpent, who is wrestling with Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus, the constellation, wrestles with serpents. We have the 12 major signs as Scorpio, the scorpion. We have Hydra, the constellation Hydra, which has a very long tail. Hydra is a very long constellation. And Hydra originally had many heads. It was a many-headed serpent, a 7-headed serpent, perhaps, in the ancients. The same way in the ancients, this wasn't a bear, it was a lamb or a sheepfold. So, changed and altered through time, but what we see that we've had handed down to us is a story, and we can interpret the story, and we can see where some changes have been made. And let's see, am I staying with my scriptures here? Time is so critical. What would be the one thing, if you were the serpent, if you were the devil, Hasatan, what would you not want people to understand? You would want to get them onto a different time clock. Get them off the Father's time. Get them off his appointed times. Because that would be the first and most accurate way you could take away their Father has declared the end from the beginning, that the serpent will be destroyed. Get the people's mind and focus off of that theme, or that highlight that is spoken to us in creation. Wow. In Isaiah, and this is where we've already been reading this in our scripture reading, very appropriate. Isaiah 42 verse 8, I am Yahweh, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. So before things spring forth, I tell you of them. He wrote it in the stars, the story in the heavens, that we actually watch this above our heads. But do we know the story above our heads? And we see that also in Isaiah, he says, I am Yahweh, I am the beginning and the end. So time is summed up in his name, who he is. I am that I am. I just exist. Yahusha says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So when it comes to time, this connects directly to Yahweh's name. He is time. He just exists. And he's given us time so that we could learn a story in that time. If we go back to Isaiah, this is where we get to the serpent. Isaiah chapter 14. We just read this in our scripture reading as well. And this falls under the heading of the burden to Babel. The burden to Babylon. And Isaiah 14:24 says, Yahweh Sevaoth has sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. And as I have purposed, so shall it stand. That I will break Ashur, or Assyria, directly connected to Babel and the Antichrist, the leader of Babylon, the Assyrian. I will break Assyria in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Stomp him, tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth, and this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations. For Yahweh Sebaoth has purposed, and who shall disannul it? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? In the year that King Ahaz died was this burden. So this is the burden, and I even really need to keep reading here, but this is the whole purpose under heaven, is to tread underfoot the serpent. To tread the serpent underfoot, to stomp on him, to crush him. Then it goes on to say, rejoice not, whole Peleshet, because the rod of him that smote you is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. And I will kill your root with famine, and he shall slay your remnant. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, you whole Peleshet are dissolved, for there shall come from the north a smoke. There's that north, the north gate, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one then answer the messengers of the nation that Yahweh has founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in Zion? Talking about New Jerusalem, the holy city, the north. The whole purpose under heaven is to tread this serpent that's associated with Babylon, underfoot. And so we're going to be talking about the serpent. If we go back to where this whole prophecy starts, you know, we know about what? The root of the serpent and the root of David, the stump of Jesse, the root of David. I am the root of David, Yahusha says. I am the offspring of David. So we have the holy seed, the holy root, and then we see here the serpent root mentioned, the root of the serpent. If we go back in Isaiah 13, the burden of Babel, we can read more about what's determined for this, the dragon system. Let's see. If we go back to 13:9, behold, the day of Yahweh comes, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the wicked for their iniquity. I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. So here we see the heavens being, well, we see that the constellations will not give their light. And we also have read about in Revelation 6, it talks about the heaven being rolled back as a scroll. You know, when this takes place, heaven's going to be rolled back. Heaven's going to be no more. Heaven and earth are going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And this is all at Messiah's second coming, when he returns in victory. This serpent system will be destroyed. what else do we see here of this burden to Babylon? If we go over to, there's more in here, but if we go over to Isaiah 14, verse 12, this is the Lucifer passage. How are you fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Or he says Halel is the Hebrew word for Lucifer. Halel. How interesting is it that Hillel was responsible for changing the Jewish calendar? Hillel, son of the morning. I just find that interesting that the times were changed, the calendar was altered by Hillel. But how are you fallen from heaven, O Hillel, son of the howling morning? How are you cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of El. There it is. He's wanting to possess, to be in the sides of the north. He's wanting to be above all the stars. This is what Draco is symbolizing here. I will sit also upon the mount of the assembly in the sides of the north, the North Star, the gate. Wow. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like El Elyon. Yet you shall be sides of the pit. And so he'll be brought down. Down in verse 19, but you are an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, that go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. You shall not be joined with them in burial, because you have destroyed your land and slain your people, the seed of evil doers. Renowned. The seed of evil doers shall never be renowned or named or remembered or authoritative. The seed of evil doers, the serpent seed, the evil doers. We see that in Babylon, Babel. This was a religious system of Messiah's day. Let's flip over what was taking place in Messiah's day at his first coming. In Luke 10, verse 17, he's going to send out his 70 disciples. He sends them out to be his witnesses. It says, and the 70 returned again with joy, saying, Adonai, even the devils are subject unto us through your name. And he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. So here we see this prophecy of Satan falling from heaven. We know the traditional beliefs of Satan taking a third of the angels, a third of the stars of heaven, being cast to the ground. We'll see this in Revelation 12, where the dragon is cast down to the earth, and a third of the stars cast down with him. He says, Messiah says, I beheld Satan fall as lightning. And of course, this refers back to what we just read in Isaiah 14:12. You are cast down to Sheol, the seed of the serpent. Behold, I give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. Notwithstanding, rejoice not that the Ruach are subject. Rejoice because your names are written in heaven. So, wow. He says, I've given you power to tread on serpents and scorpions. How much have we seen the serpent highlighted recently? We saw the cobra venom highlighted as being purposeful poisoning. We see the biological weapon, which, by the way, contains none other than the Hydra, which is the constellation, the Hydra, the many-headed serpent. Wow, a biological weapon that is poison. It's venomous. We've seen this. But he says that we will have power to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. And he says, I saw Satan fall down as lightning from heaven. So Messiah is literally witnessing this. And you know, this took place when he sent his 70 out to the harvest. Well, this was the harvest of the fall feasts when he sent these disciples out. The final harvest, the latter rain, he's sending out his disciples. And that brings me back to my little story here. And let's see, maybe I can change my background. Let's see if there's another picture here. Maybe a better picture. Well, not really. I don't have another one, but I'm gonna show on this story that is told to us, and I know you probably can't see it very well. It's probably even, it's mirror imaged for you, I think. So, but it's got the 12 months on the outside ring here. And I'm just going to explain a little bit how this story happens. And then it has the hours here. So you line up, you say, okay, if I'm in October and September, October, that's the fall feasts time period. Midnight, 11, midnight. There I am. This is what I'm gonna see. And this is what I would see at midnight in the northern hemisphere in the fall feasts. Where is Virgo? Virgo is I don't even see Virgo. Well, how about where's the dragon? The dragon is here. And what happens as the night progresses? The dragon is being cast down. The dragon is upside down. You would see the dragon upside down. If you looked at the northern horizon, the northern sky, Draco here is upside down. He's being cast down. That's what we see in the fall feast times. Draco the dragon is being cast down at the fall feasts. So, as he rotates around throughout the year, that was September, October time period, the horizon there. He gets cast down. Now he comes back up. You'll see him turn back right side up. later on in the year. But at the fall feasts, he goes around and he gets cast down. So he's upside down. So when I would view this, when I would want to match this up to the heavens, I have to look at it this way. I have to point this to the heaven and align it the correct way. And okay, this is what I would see. So I actually have to hold this up, match it up to the heavens above my head, and that's what I'll see. If you do it down here, it's backwards. You can't look down at it. You actually have to look up at it, and it will match what's above your head, but you have to hold it above your head to do that. Now, as I was talking about, when do you begin to see the stars? Can everyone hear and see everything I'm talking about here? Yah willing. Is Anthony getting us into a debate here? So if we hold this there, this reflects what we see. This is the story of heaven, of the heavens. And what happens is throughout the progression of the year, this story is the story of the constellations is told as we go clockwise. We go clockwise through the 12 major constellations. And as that clock goes around, we see the story throughout the progression of the year. And I believe that we start the story with Virgo. Why do I believe that? Well, the reason I believe that is not only the seed of the woman prophesied at the beginning, but in the month of Abib, when the year begins, the woman, what does she hold in her hand? The seed. She holds the barley. She holds also in her other the Omer. We're counting the Omer. Well, she indicates the times of harvest and the feasts. Virgo indicates those seasons, particularly in Israel, but throughout the northern hemisphere as well. She gives us the indication of the feasts of Yah. And if we go to the month of Abib, which we're just going to call it April 1st. So here's April 1st here where my finger is. And I have to go to at sunset. At sunset around 7 or 8 in the spring, we see Virgo. If we check the eastern horizon, Virgo, she's coming up and she's holding the barley and the wheat, and she's indicating the beginning of the harvest as Virgo rises in the spring in the month of Abib at the time of sunset. So this is our springtime. She's coming up. She's rising. Well, as we progress through the clock, through the season, if we go to Shavuot, she's gonna be at her highest point in the sky at sunset. If we come around to, we'll say June 1st, we'll call June 1st Shavuot, and we cycle around, we'll go about 7 or 8 p.m. Now Virgo is at the highest point in the sky. This would be very noticeable, right in the center of the sky at sunset. Virgo is very noticeable at Shavuot, more in the middle of our year. And then what happens when we get around to fall? We come around to, we'll say September, we'll say October 1st for the fall feasts. Maybe it should be September 1st, but I got, and we come around sunset. We'll go around 7 p.m. Now, where is Virgo? Virgo is going down over here. So at sunset, you would just catch Virgo going down. We should probably be more, probably towards September 1st at sunset would probably be more accurate. So Virgo over here, now she's setting upside down. Now she's going down into the horizon. At the fall feast, she's indicating the harvest. And then we don't see Virgo again until she comes up in the springtime to indicate the beginning of the harvest. So Virgo is the beginning of the Mazzaroth story in the heaven, the seed of the woman. And she tells us the times and the harvest times and the seasons. She indicates Yahweh's feast days. She holds the barley and the wheat. And she sets. When the harvest is over, she sets. She goes down. She sets. She goes away. So that's what's happening. This story is happening above our heads in the stars as we go throughout the year. This is how the story in the heavens works, and it's told to us every year. Wow. This story is told to us one time every year. And we have 12 major constellations. We have 12 major zodiac signs that gives us the main story. So let's say 12 midnight. Let's take 12 midnight in the springtime, and let's go back to the spring. Let's say April 1st. There's midnight on April 1st. So we're focused on Virgo. So we start with Virgo, and these are the zodiac signs, or the Mazzaroth signs. Midnight in May 1st, we go around. Now we're focused on Libra. That's the scales, the judgment being weighed in the balance. Then we go to June 1st, and we go to midnight. Now we're focused on Scorpio. Is it Scorpio? Yes. Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. Now we're focused on Scorpio at midnight in June 1st. Then we go to July 1st, and up in the center at midnight. Now up in the center of our sky is Sagittarius. We're just cycling around the story. Then we go to August 1st, midnight, and we're focused on Capricorn. Then we go to September, and we're focused on, there's Aquarius, the water bearer. And then October 1st, midnight, we cycle around, and we're focused on Pisces. Then we go to November 1st at midnight, and we're focused on Aries. Aries is the lamb that was slain. That's Aries. And Pisces is the fish, the two houses. December 1st at midnight, and we're focused on Taurus, the bull, Taurus. Then we go to January 1st at midnight, and we're focused on next Gemini, the twins, Gemini. Then we go to February 1st at midnight, and we are focused on Cancer. And then we go to March 1st. We're almost all the way around the story, the clock, at midnight. We're focused on, last but not least, Leo. Leo is in the middle of our sky at midnight. And that's how we cycle through the 12 major constellations and the storybook in the heavens. We begin with Virgo, and that's what we do. We just go around it clockwise, just the way we did there. That's clockwise. Every year we are told this story in the heavens as we go clockwise, and it's reverse for you, I know. And we end with Leo, the lion of the tribe of Judah. So that's why it's appropriate to end with Leo, because he comes back at his second coming as the lion, conquering and to conquer, the lion of the tribe of Judah, which is in the book of Revelation at his return. And he breaks the seals of Revelation at the end time. So it makes sense. We begin with Virgo in Aviv, and we go through the 12 constellations, and we end with Leo, the lion of the tribe of Judah, coming back. So there's a literal story in the heavens. We're told what the story is, and have we ever been aware of his time clock? Because I must confess, I was not aware of this time clock above my head. And this map, it's also a map, because you navigate with this as well. It's also used for navigation. It's a map, and it's a clock. And it tells us the story. Now, to understand each constellation, you have to understand the constellations that surround it. So for each major constellation, there's smaller constellations surrounding it that explain the major constellation. So they're broken down into 4 constellations total for each major sign, or each major sign of the Mazzaroth has 3 smaller constellations that explains it. So that amounts to 12 times 4 is 48 constellations that tell us the full story. So for instance, what we see is Orion is stomping on Lepus. Now today Lepus is shown as a rabbit in the Mazzaroth, but originally Lepus was a coiled serpent. Orion stomps the head of Lepus. He's stomping on Lepus. So we see how, and that's, Orion is part of Taurus, I believe it is. It tells a story. The constellations of each major sign will tell us the story, the full story, as we cycle around it clockwise throughout the year. Now, understand this. If we told and taught this to our children, the children could very easily pick up and understand these signs in the heavens. So where do we go from here? Is this making sense, everyone? Shalom, Wanda Mendez. Shabbat Shalom. Yes, so we go around clockwise one time per year, and we come back around, and we're told it again. This is his times, his appointed time. I love talking about his time. We go to Psalm 147:4. You know, it's just a matter of understand this story so that we can interpret it and that we can understand what's going on above our heads. Psalm 147:4, he tells the number of the stars, he calls them all by their names. What were their names? What were the stars' names? That's what we have to deal with. Well, Virgo has today spike stars in the heavens, and it's seed or branch. In Hebrew, it was zemak. We know the branch is Messiah, so that barley seed or branch represents Messiah. He is the seed of the woman, zemak. And we can see how this goes back to Yahweh naming all the stars, giving them all names, knowing them and calling them by their name. This was originally given to the patriarchs, Adam, Enoch, Noah, Moses, all those who went before us. They handed this information down. Now, of course, it got corrupted in different nations, different languages. But we're talking about the serpent today. Couple more passages over in Job 26. Another creation passage, Job 26. About back in 26 verse 5, the Rephaim are formed from under the waters, and the inhabitants thereof. Sheol is naked before him, and Abaddon has no covering. Abaddon is destruction. Sheol, the bottomless. He stretches out the north over the empty place and hangs the earth upon nothing. Well, this isn't saying he hangs a globe or a sphere out in outer space in nothingness. This is saying he suspends the earth over top of the pit of Sheol. And the north is right over top of the empty place or the futile place. This shows, again, pointing to the north. And down below the north is Sheol, but up above is the throne. He binds up the waters in thick clouds, and the cloud is not rent under them. He holds back the face of his throne and spreads his cloud upon it. So his throne above the north. He has compassed the waters with boundaries until day and night come to an end. So, you know, sunlight, day and night, it comes to an end. Arc of the earth, the flat earth, of course. Day and night comes to an end around the outer circle, where it says he's compassed the waters with boundaries. They can't go any further. You can't sail off the edge, and day can't shine past the edge. Night can't be dark past the edge. So he's where day and night stop. Light doesn't just travel forever and ever the way that they try to teach us. Light just goes for light years and light years. No. Light and dark are bound inside the firmament, inside this place where we're created. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. They're the pillars of heaven. Heaven is set on pillars. It's actually a structural system. He divides the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smites through the proud. By his ruach he has garnished the heavens. He's garnished the heavens. He's set all those little stars. He garnished it. He placed it there just in a specific way for us to connect the dots. He garnished the heavens. His hand formed the crooked serpent. His hand has formed the crooked serpent. And that's referring to the constellations of the crooked serpent, the twisted serpent, Leviathan. So here, the constellation of the crooked serpent is mentioned in Job 26. It's referring to the story above our heads. Where else is the crooked serpent mentioned? Well, we have to go back to Isaiah. Isaiah 27:1. In that day, Yahweh with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, the crooked serpent, and he shall slay at the dragon that is in the sea. So here we see not only the crooked serpent, what do we see here? We see Leviathan, the piercing serpent, the crooked serpent, and the dragon in the sea. So this is Draco here. Draco the dragon. What else do we know about? Well, let's actually change the background. I wonder if I'm about to overheat here. I hope not. Change the background picture. Let's go to some of the other serpents here in the Mazzaroth. Try this one. This is Cetus. This is the beast of the sea. Cetus. Cetus is along with, I believe, Pisces. The zodiac sign Pisces. So we have Cetus. This is one of the monsters. We think in the water. We have this goofy looking picture. He has a unicorn horn or something there, but this is the beast of the sea, the beast that John is going to mention. I saw a beast coming out of the sea. This is the beast system mentioned in the heaven. This picture is the beast coming out of the sea mentioned in Revelation. Could everyone see that? Hopefully everyone could see that. Bear, shalom. Good to have you. What's another? And you know, the serpents are always being stomped on, it seems, in the concept. Another one is, here we go, serpents. Can we see that? Serpent is wrestling with serpents, the serpent. And serpents goes up and tries to grab the crown, Corona Borealis. That's the constellation above his head you can't see. And then, does that say Boötes? This guy, this constellation up above him has the sickle. in his hand, and he's going to cut off the head of the serpent. On top of that, Ophiuchus is stomping on Scorpio, the scorpion. So he's, not only is he wrestling with the serpent, but his foot is on Scorpio, you see. He's stomping the scorpion, or he's actually being stung by the scorpion in his foot. What's another one? Let's see if I can find Hydra here. Here's Hydra, and Hydra has a very long tail and possibly encompasses a third of the stars in heaven with the length of his tail. And by the way, you see Virgo here? Serpent that we just looked at is ready to devour the seed of the woman as soon as she travails in birth and gives birth. We'll read it. We'll read in Revelation 12 how Serpent is right here at the bottom of the woman, about to devour her seed. And here we see Hydra, and Leo is actually stomping on Hydra. Leo the lion of the tribe of Judah, is treading Hydra under his feet. Also, we see this bird here is eating the flesh of the serpent. We also see that in the end times. So, is everyone seeing that? Yes, so the birds eat the flesh of the beast system, the dragon system, the kings of the earth, who waxed rich and fornicated with Babylon, with the great harlot, which was, in Yahusha's day, it was a religious system. A religious system. So, let's kind of wrap this up with Revelation 12 and 13. This beast system, this serpent system, this Draco the dragon, which at the fall feasts is cast down. This is really awesome. Thank you. Praise y'all, Wendy. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I didn't know if people were understanding or not, but another unmistakable thing is, so Leo at the end of the story tramples the serpent system. At the end of the story in the fall feasts, Draco is being cast down. So Revelation 12, it says, "And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered." And this is, we go on to see that she brought forth a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to Yahweh and to his throne. So Messiah ascends up into heaven. So this is definitely a picture of the woman giving birth to Messiah, and Serpent is at her feet. Serpent wants to devour the seed. And Ophiuchus is wrestling, holding back Serpent. Boades is about to take the sickle and cut off the serpent's head. And the child of the woman is caught up unto heaven. Now, the only time, this is unmistakable, when the birth of Messiah could take place, this is all that it can be. This is unmistakable if you really look at this, but a woman clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet. So, talk about the fall feasts, October and September. When is that? Around Virgo is here, the woman is here, she's setting. She's going down at the fall feast. So as the sun goes down, she's clothed with the sun. It's getting dark. You can't see this part of her. It's nighttime. The only part of her in the fall feasts you see is her feet going down. She's setting in the fall feasts. Now, the only time you'll see the moon at her feet is, of course, the new moon sliver, which follows directly behind the sun. The sun sets and the moon pops out, the new moon sliver. The only time you will see clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, as the prophecy says, is at the fall feasts. At the Feast of Trumpets, beginning the 7th month in the fall feasts, and the Feast of Tabernacles, when Messiah would. That's the only time that you would see her clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet. The only time you could witness that would be at sunset in the fall feasts, when the new moon is following directly behind the sun at sunset. Proving undeniably here that it's the fall feasts when Messiah is born and tabernacles amongst men. Then we see, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, as soon as it was born. So we talked about serpents. Serpents is at the feet of the woman, ready to devour the seed, the child being born. And remember, the same time of year, Draco is being cast down. At the fall feasts, Draco is upside down. So you'll look to your north horizon. Draco's upside down. He's being cast down to the earth. That's what you would see. So it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So at this time, at the end, we see Draco at the fall feast being cast down. The serpent, the dragon, the devil, Satan. We have 4 or 5 different reptiles. We have Hydra, we have serpents, we have Scorpio, and we even have Lepus. Because in ancient times, Scorpio wasn't really a scorpion. They showed Scorpio as, I forget what the ancients showed Scorpio as, but we have about 4 different constellations of the serpent and the devil. And he gets cast down. The fall, that's, let's see here, October and September, Draco. And this is around midnight. You see him being cast down October 1st. If you look over to the other horizon, here's the northern horizon that way. Look to your, you would see Cetus. And Cetus isn't right side up. So you look out the opposite direction and you see this Cetus beast, the beast coming up out of the sea. And that gets us to Revelation 13, verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. I stood upon the sand out. Now, I don't know if this was what he was actually seeing. I tend to think he was in a heavenly vision, caught up to heaven. But what's interesting is it accurately reflects what we see in the heavens. It matches the story in the heavens. So the beast is right side up. The sea beast, Cetus. We might think of Leviathan. When you flip it this way, hard to show on here, but look out there. Oh, there's Cetus. He's rising up. It appears perspective. The sea beast is coming up out of the sea. That's what you would see at this same time in the fall feasts at nighttime. 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Then we go and we read about the beast. So we have now seen the serpent's seed in the heavens. This completes. We've seen Abraham's seed and we see the serpent seed. We see the serpent will be cast down. Hydra is a many-headed serpent in ancient times. Leo tramples underfoot Hydra. And Draco is cast down at the last great day, at the fall feasts. We also see what happened at the first Advent. Hasatan was cast down to the earth. He was bound. This is why, are we treading on scorpions? Are we accessing our full authority over the scorpions and the serpents and the reptilians? Because at his first advent, Satan was cast down. But what comes up? A beast system comes up out of the sea that we read in Revelation 13. Another religious system. The religious system that arises after Messiah is none other than Rome, the religion of Rome. This is a religious beast system that tries to mimic the truth. He comes up with his own times, his own calendar. He tries to usurp authority. Let me change the day from Sabbath, Saturday, to Sunday. The serpent is always trying to usurp authority. He's trying to change it. He's trying to alter the time. The Gregorian calendar is from Rome. And it alters the whole story. It changes the whole story. The Vatican, yes, Wendy. The religious system that has to be cast down and finally destroyed by Leo, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, is Hydra, is the serpent system, the religious system that tries to usurp authority and gain what? Gain worship. I will exalt my throne above the stars of heaven. That's what the serpent says. I will be worshipped. Can we begin to see how important it is to Yahweh? Satan saying, ha! I'm getting them to worship me. I'm getting them to listen to me, not you, Yahweh. By having them worship on Sunday, they're actually worshiping me, not you. They're listening to me. Usurping authority. That's what the serpent does. There's nothing worse than the usurping of authority. That's what took place in the garden. The woman, she divines. Divination with the serpent. And she becomes deceived. Instead of listening to Yahweh, she divines, she listens to the serpent. And authority is usurped to make her think that I should eat of the tree of the knowledge of the tree. Then she usurps authority with Adam and gets Adam, she divines to Adam. Gets Adam to go through her. Listen to her, not Yahweh. See the divining, the usurping of authority that the serpent practices? And so Adam says, I need to go through the woman. I think the woman is correct, not Yahweh. And practices divination, usurps authority. Serpent by changing the times, changing the Sabbath to Sunday. I need to listen to the serpent. I need to go to sure, Sunday, it's about Christ. Yes, believe whatever you want to believe. Believe me, the serpent says. Believe me. Usurping authority, divining. And another example, what can be worse than a child who won't listen to the father or the parent, but a child listens to another source and disobeys you? What is a worse example of rejecting the authority? If we, as parents, we understand that. When our authority is rejected by our child, there's nothing more painful than that to us. Something I'm going through now with my son. It's just one of... There's nothing more painful than authority being usurped. And for as the parent, as the true authority, you're supposed to be the authority to your child, but your child doesn't listen. Well, that's what happened with Adam and Eve. They didn't listen to Yahweh, and they divined through the serpent. Serpent system. That completes our study of the serpent seed. That's good, because I'm at 1 hour and 34 minutes. That was really long. I hope this just put everything together in a way that made sense. So what I would recommend is is, you know, everyone get yourself a map of the heavens, get a good map of the Mazzaroth, the Mazzaroth. Thank you, Trevor. That was so good. Praise Yah. I can't believe Yahweh has even allowed me to talk about his story in the heavens, but that's what it is. It's that circle, the ecliptic, 12 major signs. You go around clockwise. The story is told throughout the entire year. So get a good map and, you know, start trying to understand. There's Hydra, Leo trampling Hydra, the bird eating the flesh, of course Draco in the center, and look at this guy. This guy, he's stomping on the head of Draco. So this is Hercules, the constellation Hercules. See what I mean? The serpent is always having his head crushed. Well, that's straight from scripture, but it's also written in the heavens. Hercules, he's crushing the head of the serpent. So, of course, we rebuke in Yahushua HaMashiach what we've had to mention. The names have been changed because of language differences. It's the Mazzaroth. That's the story told. Trying to see what we have over on this side. Aquarius, the water bearer, but each one tells a little of the woman Virgo, clockwise, and ending with the Lion of the tribe of Judah, who comes in victory to conquer. That must not be Hercules. Ryan, Shabbat Shalom. That's the constellation Hercules there. I'm pretty certain. Yes, it is. And then you have Aquila. Over here you have Serpent. So yes. And there's Boudis, has a sickle in his hand. He's about to chop off Serpent's head. There. The serpent is always being in the storybook of the heavens. But he doesn't want, of course, the dragon doesn't want us to see him always being defeated. So he wants to take away our focus. This was great. My son really enjoys learning about prophecy through the stars. So do I. Thanks for sharing. Praise Yah, Lindsay. The one thing I can't do is I don't have my computer, so I can't go back through the comments today. Hercules wasn't prophesied to step on the serpent's head. No, it's just names are changed and everything, but it's what it symbolizes. It's the symbolism. It's not about another false god or false deity, but this is the constellation we know as Hercules. But this all represents what Messiah is gonna do. It tells us the gospel of Messiah. It doesn't tell us the gospel of Hercules, obviously, but you know, today we know this as Hercules. But no, it's not a story about Hercules. Whew! So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. It's about evil being defeated. Yes, Wendy. So I might have figured out a secret so my phone doesn't overheat. Don't have it plugged in. If I'm live streaming and I have it plugged into the power source and it's charging, that overheats it way fast. Battery die down, it won't overheat. They are the serpent seed. There's definitely a serpent seed if you'd like to check it out. I read that last week, 2 Kings 23, 4-5. Mazalot. This was so good. Wendy, thank you. I love to be able to hear that and be encouraged that everyone's making sense of it. Well, Wendy's making sense of it. We literally see this story told in the revolution of the year, so his appointed times are very important. We start in Abib. The story starts in the month of Abib, and it can... Praise Yah. Happy to have gotten to be here today. Such good vibes. Thank you, Trevor and all. Praise Yah. Karen Dirt. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I'm glad to see you come on. Didn't I mention you? Was it last night? What did I mention about Karen Dirt? Hopefully it was something good, but one thing I mentioned, I hadn't seen you in a while. That was something I mentioned. Not a serpent seed as of Satan was the father of Cain. Having difficulty being able to read here. Resetting your phone. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Everybody enjoy your Sabbath today. Praise Yah. And that's part 2. I don't know if Yahweh will give me a part 3. I'm gearing up towards a part 3, but deal of the story, I'm sure there could be a part 3. As we're counting the Omer, we're dealing with time. We're learning about how time works. We're learning about his clock. There can definitely be a part 3. So praise Yah. We'll see everyone actually tonight for the reading at 9. We'll continue Isaiah. Shabbat Shalom.